Imagine a world transformed by the power of giving, where every act of kindness sparks another. These are the champions who dedicate their lives to change. Together, they are paying it forward. Champions of change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement. Here on the Achievement Channel.
Hello and welcome to another powerful episode of Champions of Change, the show where we spotlight individuals and organizations making a real difference in their communities. I'm Pamela Egbo, your host, and you're watching the Achievement Channel, Nigeria's first and only 100% motivational TV station, broadcasting from the School of Eloquence in Ikoyi, Lagos. Today, we are honored to have Osayi Alile. She's a visionary leader in the non-for-profit and sustainability sector with over 2 decades of experience. She's the CEO of Aspire Coronation Trust, the ACT Foundation. It's a grant-making organization dedicated to driving social impact in the areas of health, entrepreneurship, environment, and leadership. Under her leadership, ACT Foundation has supported countless initiatives, fostering collaborations that have strengthened the non-for-profit landscape in Nigeria and beyond. Let's get started.
Of change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement.
Welcome, Osayi, to Champions of Change. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to this.
Fantastic, me too. So I'm passionate about this conversation because I know you're in the social impact space, which I have also been for over 20 years. And you are somebody who has driven social change for that long.
Yes.
Tell me, what inspired you to make that leap into the social impact space, and what has sustained you in a very, sometimes, challenging environment?
Always challenging. I think for me, it wasn't something I wanted to do in the first instance. I wanted to be a lawyer. In fact, from when I was a child, everybody was like, oh, they used to call me the law in my family. So when we have an issue, my parents would say, you go and sort it out. So in my mind, I was going to do law. Then I went into banking. And that was also by chance. And went off to school and I started volunteering. And that was the end of the matter. And my life became the social sector. I didn't understand it, and I must say I didn't understand anything about it. I just knew that, I came alive while I was there compared to when I was working. Nothing wrong with the banking sector, but everybody's journey in life is different. So I kind of just pushed my way in and started learning about it. I actually went to do a master's and MBA.
Wow.
And didn't tell my parents. I changed to public administration and non-profit world. And when they came for graduation, they were like, I don't understand. What are you graduating from? But I just felt it was my passion. It was what I was called to do. And from there, I've started building myself over the last, 20 years, understanding and just realizing that there's one thing to be passionate, but it's another thing to run it as a business as well. And it's a business of doing good. And I've learned over the years, I don't sit on my ears. I just keep on reinventing myself and building. But I think one of the things that has kept me is that determination to do good and to do good well. And I also am so passionate about the sector and the industry in Nigeria, in Africa, to build this sector. Because I tell people that you can't grow past a sector, no matter how big and large you are. When they say Osayi Alile, they will say she's from Nigeria. How's the sector doing? They're not going to say, they will ask after you, but it's always based on what your sector is. And I feel that the industry can do better. We can continue to do better. But also the fact that I also come from a family that is very faith-oriented as well. So that also is almost my foundation in doing this. It's been an amazing journey thus far.
Great, that's awesome. And right now, I know you used to run the Faith Foundation for many, many years.
Yeah.
Now you are the CEO of the ACT Foundation.
Yes.
And your remit is health. You do a lot of different initiatives, health.
Environment, yes.
Education.
Yes.
So can you share with us I'm sure you have countless stories, but maybe a couple of success stories that has sort of reignited your commitment even further to the space that we're in.
Yeah, you're right. There's so many stories. I mean, now we work with about 140 social entrepreneurs across Africa, where all our programs are all in all the Nigerian states, and then I think 12 African countries. And these are 8th year. But you know, it's amazing because we like to work with community-based NGOs, ones that a lot of them, maybe 60% of them have never gotten any funding before, any formal help. And in just watching them grow over the last 4 or 5 years, it's amazing because I see these things. I've been working in the sector for a while. I mean, as you mentioned, the Faith Foundation, I've seen Faith Foundation grow. And even now that I've even left, I look back and I'm like, oh my goodness, where are they now? So I'll give you an instance. We have a foundation in Adamawa State called No. And this young lady came in to talk about this foundation to me, and I was like, oh, yeah. But I was like, Adamawa, how do we get there? What do we do? And she wanted to work with a group of women in the agri sector and to help to build them, to give them capital, to give them farmlands and all that. And this was when we just started. And I asked, how many women do you have? At that time, she had maybe 40, 50 women. And she had started doing a bit of work. And last year, we went to visit, and we have over 80,000 women. Wow. 80,000. And they're now doing it in, I think, about 100 communities across, from Adamawa, they've gone to different other states. And when you see that, you see the power of community-led conversations, community-led push, and it's totally amazing. It's just amazing. And you speak to the women and they're telling you that, oh, we were looking for a loan to buy a tractor last year, we couldn't find. We pulled all our resources together, 100 and something million. I'm like, how? You know, but it's just from that thinking of the fact that you can trust and believe that this particular organization, they haven't gotten any formal funding before, they haven't gotten any formal help before, but you believe and you know for a certain that they're going to translate this thing into something bigger and better. And it doesn't have to always necessarily be humongous. It can be small, little organizations doing small work in a school. And I've seen it, the transition and the innovation come to life many times. And so whenever I go out and they say, oh, we want to come and help, we want to and like, we've been doing this thing for years. Maybe it's a bit different from how it's done in the global north, but in the global south, we've been working with people, we've been helping people for years, and we just need to help them to see, okay, how do you want to transit from here to there, and help them to do that. But the help must also be in relation with what they require and what they want as well. And so we must all work together and partner with whatever organization we're working with to move them to the next level. And that's the way I see things being done.
Awesome. I love that because one of the things I feel like Nigeria needs right now is more local philanthropy.
Yes.
More than ever.
100%.
That's what you're doing.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes, grateful for international organizations that want to fund us here in Africa, but sometimes they don't know what we need. They cannot know what we need more than what us Africans.
We know ourselves. We know how we work. We know who to trust. When you talk about this kind of the amount of women, someone was asking me, how do they I said they know who they are. They know every cluster because they know their house, they know the husbands, they know the children. So you can't collect money and then disappear. And we also have to, the global north or the organization, I mean, we've seen it with the USAID and what's going on around the world now with all this funding being revoked and revoked, the carpet being moved under our feet. And in the last 10, 15 years, I've been pushing that philanthropy has to change. We have to do things better. We ourselves must realize what the challenges are and begin to solve them. Even if you don't want to be in the field, you don't have to. Not everyone has to be in the field, but we must work with people that are in the field. And that's where partnerships and collaborations come into being. And we must say, who is there? Who's doing it there? And if the money does come in from the north, how do we use it and who do we give it to? So that we know that the impact that we're making can be justified, but also can be measured.
Yes, absolutely. That's great. That leads me to my next question. So you are predominantly a grant-making organization.
Yes.
How do you make that decision of who to basically help?
Yeah.
And also, what are some of the challenges that you have seen in terms of that process of making that decision?
Maybe I should start from the second question. The challenge is that, I mean, you can't help everyone. And of course, we are also focused on just 4 thematic areas. And you find out that a lot of people doing other things want also to get the funding. And we are a grant making organization, but we are also a bridge. So we do a lot of capacity training for the organization, but our training is really for everyone. Anyone can sign on for that. So that for me is a challenge, because like this year we had a call, we can only fund 20 organizations, and almost 4,000 people applied. So how do you choose 20 from 4,000? So that for me is really the challenge that we find. There's so many projects, great projects out there, but the funding is very minimal. And funding, when I mean funding, I don't always talk about money. Funding in terms of resources of people as well, because you have to measure. Measuring takes time, it takes effort. You also have to train, you have to work hand in hand with the founders, all the CEOs, and so it requires a lot of time. We also are a bridge, we want them to also do better, so we are looking for people, so it takes time. So, and then when you pick 20 is not even 10% of the people that are asking for funds. So that's why we need more. So that's one thing. The first question in terms of how do we choose, when the people do apply, we have some checks that we have to look at. We want to be sure that they will do the projects. We want to be sure that the organization is actually registered, because we can't work with organizations that are not registered. So we do check all these backgrounds, and of course they must be in the areas that we are looking at as well. Because the 2 organizations, but if we're partnering, we must know what values we are bringing to the table. So a lot of the organizations we work with, a few of them I've never heard before. I've been in the sector for a while. So we have to do a lot of the background checks on them as well. And so that's really, so we have external evaluators. A lot of people always say, Osayi, how did you just chose this person? I'm like, no, I didn't. Yeah, we have a criteria that we have a group of about 60 people. They are checked through all these 4,000, and then they take it down to about 100. From 100 it goes to 50. Then from the 50 we do interviews and we visit. So the last 2 weeks we've been visiting organizations, checking to make sure that we also want to understand what they need for us to do. A lot of times people, grants organizations and grantees, is always almost like a leader, and we don't want it like that. We want a partnership. So when we see your proposal, we are going back to you to ask you, what are the issues? Where do you want us to come in to help? So not only just the grant, but what else can we do to help you, to take you to the next level? Do you have issues with HR, with finance? And we have a project that is just about getting volunteers to go into the organizations to work with them. It can be from 3 months to 8 months. And these are people from KPMG, from organizations that you cannot necessarily pay. Sure. But because of the relationship we have with them, they're able to go to this organization. So those are the things that we do. So we are also trying to build strong institutions. We want to be able to walk away from that after we have worked with them for 5 years, to know that they are doing even better than they are doing where we were there with them. Yes, 100% sustainable. So that's what we're looking forward to. And we've not had, by God's grace, we've not had any defaults in the organizations we've worked with, and we're very pleased about that.
I like that, because what you're doing is quite holistic.
Yes.
Taking the whole organization, looking at them and saying, how can we come in and help?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Fantastic. We'll take a quick break right now, and we'll come back with this interesting and awesome conversation with Osayi.
It's inspiring, it is new. Keep watching Achievement Channel.
My name is Olufemi Shea. I'm CEO of Casafina Development. I'd like to tell you this. Keep watching Achievement Channel.
Change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement.
Eloquence focuses attention on the message and the audience.
I found it very interesting, exciting, synergetic.
It was very beneficial.
Definitely would learn a lot, a whole lot.
Thank you. The delivery was second to none.
Speak with power.
Speak with power.
Speak with power.
Champions of change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement.
Welcome back to Champions of Change. Just before the break, we were talking to Osayi Alile about her work with the ACT Foundation and the incredible work that they do in the social impact space. So Osayi, welcome back again.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you about collaborations. I think in the space that we're in, how important, in your experience, are collaborations with the not-for-profit, private sector, and government, that intersection? How important do you think it is?
Very important. It can be difficult, but it's very important. And in this season, very necessary. You can't do anything alone, not anymore. Before, you could just be one small community organization. And even then, because of the fact that they work with local government, they work with in schools, things like that, you find that they're already collaborating. But now we have to do it a bit more formally, because there's so many things that you have to check and be sure about. Make sure that the values that both all the parties are bringing are one, and we can be different, but we know where we are heading to. A lot of collaborations, people start off not understanding and knowing, they're just excited about it. Someone has come, a private sector has come, they want to do a program in the East, everybody gets excited. Not sitting down really to ask questions. What do you expect from me? What should I expect? What do you bring to the table that I don't have, that I can benefit from? And when that happens, you find out that you get frustrated. But collaborations is really the way to go. You can't do a lot of work without government. If you're going to the schools, you need permission to do those things, because even though they can shut your program in the middle, you also want to carry them along. You want them to understand why you're doing it in the first place. And another thing also is a lot of us in the sector, we do these programs and we don't give them reports. So you do this thing, you're all excited, everybody goes back. And you don't do any back check, do we measure the impacts? All those measurements are so essential. And sending the reports to them to say, okay, this is what we've done. So that in case you go back in 3 years' time, they remember. And we can also measure these things, and we can also have them documented.
What has worked?
Exactly. And even with private sector is so essential now, because we're getting to a place where they are doing a lot of work on their own as well, and a lot of them cannot implement by themselves. So we that three-prong is so necessary. But as social sector, we must understand why we are going into these partnerships. And if we don't understand it, then we don't do it. A lot of I've sat down at the table with people, and by the time they are done, when I leave them, I'm like, oh, this is not for me. And my staff will be like, oh my goodness, we need to make this money they're bringing. I say, yeah, but it's not what we want to do. So your mission must be very clear. What you want to accomplish must be very, very clear. And if it doesn't fall in line with what you want to do, step away. And there's some things you must say no to. Very difficult to, because especially in the sector, but you must get to a place where no is as easy as yes. And understanding that it's not everything that you can accomplish. And be able to say, okay, I can't do it, but I know another organization that this is their strong point, and it would be great if you can work with them. And that's another thing with partnerships. So I've referred organizations to people many times, and it always comes back. Always comes back. The organization will always call you and say, oh, there's something else, can you help us to do this? So you get the benefit, and that's even more beneficial than doing something that is not even your interest in the first place. And these are the things you learn as you're starting life. I learned a hard way when I was at Faith Foundation. We got this humongous grant. I was so excited about it. Of course, went to the board, and I was like, we got this grant. It's going to change the organization. And then my boss then, Mr. Adiola, said, so what is it? And I explained, and I could see his face go blank. And I was like, what's going on? He said, this is not our goal. I'm like, it is. We can change it this way. We can turn it the other way. And at the end of the day, we'll get there. And he looked at me and said, no, we don't do this. And I went quiet. I was so depressed because, it takes you time to get these relationships. And I was like, how am I going to go back to tell them no? But, it taught me the hard truth of our life. And, we did say no for that particular grant, but they came back to us 2 years after. And they said, okay, now we want to do what you do. And this was even bigger and better then, but we have to learn. We have to learn. Yes, we have to learn.
What you just said, Osayi, because I see so many organizations jumping on the bandwagon of, for example, climate change.
Yeah, oh gosh.
You understand? Because they want to get money.
Yes.
And it's so important to face your lane. What are you about?
Yes.
And focus on that. And like you said, if you have the value on the table, they will come back.
Yes.
And I think that is what I think in the landscape of Nigeria, we have to learn that to make sustainable change.
Yeah.
Sustainable.
And one of the things I tell my grantees, I say, should I say be true? And once you're true to yourself, you find out that you're not going to struggle. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you don't struggle because everybody knows who you are. I said I've been in this industry now 25 years, and the same people that met me 25 years ago, so you haven't really changed. It's the same thing you've been fighting and struggling and talking about. Of course, you grow, you learn, you have challenges, you have failures, lots of failures, but you get to a place where everyone is they know that this is your yes is your yes and your no is your no, and that's what keeps you relevant through the years. But when we keep on jumping, climate change is important that we all jump to it.
AI.
Gender issue is important, we all jump to it. That's not your strength. And even if you want to build on that strength, I can speak about anything, but my strength is my strength. My focus is my focus. So to thyself be true.
Exactly. Love it. So finally, I wanted to ask you about, young people, professionals who want to create social change and sustainability in their own sphere of influence in Nigeria, particularly. What are the lessons that you have learned? What would you say to them about getting into this space and helping them sustain that passion when the challenges come?
Oh gosh.
And you can look right.
Let me start from saying that the sector needs you. We've had ups and downs and all that, but the sector needs you. The sector needs you to come with your innovative ideas, to come with your authentic self, to come and change the way things are being done. That's the first. Second is that you must know what you want to do. You can build on it as your journey. I mean, what I was doing 20 years ago is not what I'm doing now, but I've built, and you can build on it. But be open to be flexible. A lot of us come to the sector with a lot of passion. We want, the strength of passion is great, but the head for business is also better. And when you mix these two together, understanding what the business of the non-profit world is, the social sector, it's a business. Having that passion to be able to wake up in the morning and no matter what the challenges are, to be able to just be excited about doing what you're doing, that's what keeps you over the years. And the third thing is knowing who else is in the network, who is your tribe. You can't enter this sector without knowing and understanding what's been happening in the last few years. And so I don't want you to walk alone. There's so many programs out there that are teaching, talking to people about what we are doing. LBS has training programs. We do have a few that we do online as well. Quite a few organizations that are doing things. So ask questions. The same way you, as an entrepreneur, you want to go into the business of fish farming, for example. You're going to ask questions. You're going to see what are the failures. This is the same way as coming to the nonprofits. Ask questions. Be flexible to changes, and changes happen instantly. Government can change a policy, and we're all running helter-skelter. But I must tell you that we need you. We want you to come. We want you to come and change, come in with your influences and your innovation. And regardless of what the challenges you see out there, we will overcome. And for me, over the years, we've had lots of challenges, lots of failures. I can write a whole book about failures. But that's the beauty of doing a business. So I am excited that you're thinking about it. I'm excited that you want to be on this journey, and I'm looking forward to meeting you very shortly.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
Osayi.
thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure having you on Champions of Change.
Thank you very much.
And we wish you continued success with the ACT Foundation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this enlightening episode of Champions of Change. Osayi's dedication to fostering sustainable development and empowering communities exemplifies the profound impact that visionary leadership can have on society. We hope her story has inspired you to contribute to positive change in your own communities. Let's continue this conversation online. Follow us at Achievement Channel on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube for more inspiring stories. Use our hashtag #WeSeePossibilities to share your thoughts on today's discussion. Remember, service is the rent we pay for living. Stay inspired, stay engaged, and keep seeing possibilities on the Achievement Channel. Till next time, bye for now.
Change. Paying it forward. Join us and be part of the movement.